Give me a hand! Help me out here!
What is going on, YouTube? This is Jim back with another video here, talking today about Assassin's Creed Valhalla River Raid. In case you couldn't tell by the intro, not a big fan of this one. And that's really unfortunate because Assassin's Creed was incredibly polarizing this go-round. We've completely dropped the assassin content at all. And I did a long video about all of my thoughts on Assassin's Creed. I don't hate the game. I actually enjoyed it for what it was, but they are really struggling with what they want to be. They have since doubled down now on this River Raid concept, which really, to me, is a 100% non-stealth base. This is purely action, violence, bloody combat. That's what this has become now. And I'm okay with that because to me, combat is a phenomenal part of this game and it works incredibly well at times. Building up Eivor, in my case a woman, could be a guy for you. Building up Eivor in such a way that makes you powerful. Finding these ancient relics, Thor's hammer, Excalibur, whatever, and wearing them makes you feel powerful. Doing things to build up your adrenaline meter and give you new abilities and to build an army around you so when you perform a raid you feel powerful. All of that works very, very well. What River Raid system tries to do, I should say, the whole game here, is to just really put a big underline under that. And you are not going to be doing side quests anymore. You're not going to be going around saving the world. We're going to drop any of the Norse mythology or any of the ancillary stuff. And we're going to focus solely on a sort of tower climb type game where you're going to clear wave after wave after wave of enemy, working your way up. There are some caveats in the system. There's a risk-reward system. There are ways to kind of pick and choose your battles in a sense. But ultimately, if you want to get the best stuff that this has to offer, you're going to want to do this mode. Unfortunately, if you're like me and you've already spent so much time working through the regular content, you are basically the most powerful person on the planet. This doesn't really come off as that as exciting or as rewarding. And in many instances, unfortunately, it becomes frustrating because you have this unfortunate reliance on the AI around you to make it fun. And it's just not up to snuff. The AI is very easily exploited in this game, and that's something that if you've been struggling with as you're still playing through it, fighting any of the roaming guards that are out in the countryside and clearing out the order menu, you'll know what I'm talking about. Sometimes you just can't fight them toe-to-toe. Sometimes you have to be cheesy, climbing over cliffs that they have a hard time getting on and shooting arrows at their head, or setting up traps that they'll ride their horse into. These are very common things that you can do, and it does break the immersion. What this mode has, unfortunately, is a lot of that, but it also has more, because there's such a reliance on these raids of you working with your AI teammates to basically burn down everything on this river, kill every guard, take every treasure, leave no prisoner behind. And unfortunately, the AI just isn't up to snuff in that. And I can't tell you the number of times in this mode I saw my AI teammates doing something so incredibly stupid, so incredibly immersion breaking, that it just was not fun. And unfortunately, if you are not babysitting your teammates in this mode, and I think that is the biggest complaint I have, if you are not babysitting your teammates in this mode, they will die to nothing. Incredibly foolish, silly deaths. And when I mean nothing, I legitimately mean nothing. I'm not exaggerating. I have been to camps on the River Raid where I have killed every single guard in the area, and then walking around picking up ancillary treasures or chests or trying to find a way into a locked door, I will hear one of my teammates is down. And then they have these like almost programmed timers of like, okay, in order to make the game hard, air quotes here, in order to make the game hard, we're going to arbitrarily put in these timers when your teammates will fall down and die, or they will be injured, or they will get left behind, or whatever. And if you are paying attention to the simulation, you know this isn't true. This doesn't make logical sense. Why would a team of 4 of your best Vikings lose to a single guard after you've cleared through a large portion of it? You know, why would an AI teammate fall off a cliff instead of just gently like walking around the perimeter? And it's this artificial babysitting you do that breaks this immersion of you being a tough band of take no prisoners killer Vikings. And it suffers from that. And when you remove all of that other lore, when you remove the Norse mythology, when you reduce and get rid of the idea of you're going to find these crazy exotic weapons and be in larger than life situations, and you're dealing with just that, it doesn't succeed because you have nothing to distract you from all the other stuff. And I don't like that. And that's what really turns me off to this mode more than anything. Now, there are some fun mechanics to this mode. You know, there are these ancillary sort of like quests you can take on where you can find, you know, more rare pieces of gear. There are 2 different paths that you can take that, at least initially, that do increase difficulty the more you stay on a single path. So it is, you're meant to do a lot of hit and run stuff. They do favor you to hit some of the bigger places. You only want to stop at the smaller encampments, only if you need health or like a quick boost or something. You don't really have to do those. There's not a lot of treasure there, but the reward is, you know, while you get health, unfortunately you make everything else harder. So they did put some thought into the system, which I do appreciate. Unfortunately, it just isn't enough. And if you are really looking for something to do, you're going to have your fill of being a Viking in the main game. You know, if you want to add an ancillary mode that's like, you know, something like this, I almost feel like there needed to be more done here. I feel like they're making your AI teammates more meaningful than they should be, and you don't really have a connection to them, which isn't that great. So why would you want to do all this anyway? You know, what is the point of this? Well, you're going to pick up these foreign supplies, which are only used in this mode. Think of them as like this mode's funny money. You can't use them anywhere else, and it's going to allow you to do a couple basic things, but it really boils down to ship cosmetics. You're going to be able to buy unique sails, unique tattoos for your character, unique hull, boat, that kind of stuff. There are, as I mentioned, a couple weapon sets out there you will stumble across. Full armor sets, you know, with cosmetics, with matching weapons to go with them, but they're not that powerful. At this point in the game, most people who have already played probably have invested a pretty significant amount of time and ingots into making the weapon they want. And I don't think you're going to suddenly fall in love and find a new favorite weapon here. I just feel like a lot of this is kind of just basic. You know, if they added boat damage, if they added other boats that you fought, if they added more, you know, hunt parties or harder enemies that you had to fight that progressively had better tactics, if your AI teammates meant more than just opening 2-person chests or 2-person doors, I think this would probably be a lot of fun because they really did focus on the things that matter the most in this game, which is the combat, but they don't. It's a lot of reused, borrowed assets. Some of the animations are wonky. Some of the logic doesn't make sense. Like, why is my Viking... You know, it says I lost a Viking in Battlefield, yet my boat remains full. You'll lose more and more Vikings, yet your boat remains full. It's just, I don't know. There's just a lot for this that isn't great. I don't really know how this fits into their roadmap. I did a cursory review, and I did see that. You know, we had the Yuletime Fest, which wasn't really that exciting either. Now you have this. I know we're going to get some proper DLC at some point, and I'm hoping that during that DLC, this is their opportunity to really shine. This just seems to be a lot of reused existing assets in a mode that isn't really that well thought out. That doesn't really add any new exciting challenges. Since it's instanced, it's not like you're really working on any progress towards, you know, your main settlement if you're working on that, and some of the treasures you get are only allowed to be used here, like that foreign supply as I mentioned, so you're probably not going to find a lot of weapon upgrade parts through here. It just seems that it's this compartmentalized version that's too weak for veteran players like me who've played and beaten, you know, 100, 125, 130 hours into this game, and for people who are just starting off, it doesn't seem like it feeds too much into the narrative that's going to really make you want to stop the main game to check this out. So it just kind of seems like it's lost on itself, and that's unfortunate. So this is a pass for me. I mean, it did get me to boot up Assassin's Creed, which is something I haven't done in 2021 at all. So I guess you get an A for that. They are adding in some cosmetics. There's a limited time event where you can get a couple of the Jackdaw sales, which probably brought a couple people back as well, but this will largely be forgotten, and we will move on to bigger and better things. So if you haven't yet checked it out and you're really jonesing for, you know, some Assassin's Creed combat, give it a whirl. But I don't think you'll be sticking around too long. I sure know I wasn't. With that, I'm closing out this video. Hope you guys found it informative. Thank you all so much for watching. Please take care of yourselves, and until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.